Chapter 14.
Darlin headed out towards the big group by the gates of the outer wall. She approached the group. She passed the little woman and asked, "Do you know where Thurston is?" In a very soft voice, the lady said, "He's over there," pointing 20 feet back in the direction that Darlin had walked from. Darlin turned and began to walk with the lady towards Thurston. Thurston was now waving at her, and as she approached, when she was close enough, he smiled. "I hope you were happy with your party. Is there something wrong?" Darlin responded, "No, I was just hoping we could speak in private for a moment." "Not a problem," he said as he began to walk towards the fountain where no one was standing. As soon as they were at the fountain, Darlin looked at Thurston and said, "Listen, I know what's going on. I'm with the Tin Man and we're going for the ruby slippers. We need you to get her wand." Thurston's eyes lit up. Darlin continued, We talked to the Good Witch of the North, and we need you to distract my grandmother. I mean the Wicked Witch of the South, so we can get her ruby slippers. She only takes them off when she goes for a shower, although she's been obsessed with water ever since we came to this land. She can never touch water in Oz," Thurston said, cutting her off. "Oh yeah, that's right," Darlin agreed, nodding her head at Thurston. As Thurston continued to explain, "I will be taking her up to her suite for a shower shortly. You can make your move then. Whatever we do, we must do it fast. When she finds out they're missing, we'll only have a matter of minutes before she activates the alarm. By the way, where is the Tin Man?" Darlin pointed towards the front of the castle. When they looked that way, they could see the human, Tin Man, near a tour bus, talking to the Wicked Witch of the South. The two of them looked at each other, shocked and concerned, and began to make their way around the fountain towards the Tin Man and the Wicked Witch of the South. As the two approached, the Tin Man said to Darlin, "I met your grandmother. She's a lovely lady." Darlin, puzzled. "That's Grandma for you," with an artificial voice. The Wicked Witch of the South raised one of her eyebrows, then said to Darlin with her screeching voice, "I want to talk to you for a moment, Darlin." The two walked about 10 feet away from the Tin Man and Thurston. Darlin made sure when they stopped, the Wicked Witch had her back to the Tin Man and Thurston. I have a very special surprise for you. I will send it to you tonight about 10 o'clock, her grandma said with her evil voice. "Oh, but you've done so much already. You really don't have to give me anything else," replied Darlin. "No, but I want to, my pretty," the witch said. Darlin, very careful not to show she was scared, replied, "I can't wait." The two turned around and started to walk back towards the Tin Man and Thurston. "I think your dog trainer, Mr. Tin Valentine, might be gay," the witch whispered to Darlin. "Aren't they all? I think it comes with the territory," replied Darlin. The witch let out a little snicker and looked at the Tin Man oddly for a moment. When Darlin looked up at him, she noticed he was standing with Disco in his hand in the same position he was frozen in for the past 100 years or so. Darlin looked the Tin Man in the eye, motioning with her hands. "Here, give me Disco." The Tin Man immediately broke his stance as he handed Disco to Darlin. The moment the Tin Man moved out of his axe-holding stance, the Wicked Witch of the South broke her stare and began to talk to Thurston. "I trust you're finished up here. I trust you're all finished up out here." "Yes, my lady," Thurston replied. "Call up to have the seams set. I'm ready to go up to my room," the witch ordered. Thurston pulled out a cell and immediately started to dial. "It was a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Valentine," the witch said to the Tin Man. "I'm sure we'll see each other someday," he replied with a wink. As the witch and Thurston walked towards the stairs to go back to the castle, Darlin turned to the Tin Man and said, "What did she say to you?" "Disco got away, so I chased her behind that bus thing. I almost ran directly into her when I went around that corner. I apologized and I introduced myself. She said that I should be more careful when running around a corner. Then she said that she don't know how I could work with animals and that she despised them." "OMG, gasped Darlin. The Tin Man continued. "When you were talking to the Wicked Witch, Thurston told me to tell you that we should go up to your suite and wait for his call." Darlin responded, "Let's go back to the room." and she put Disco down on the white rocks of the castle driveway. The two of them made their way up to Darlin's suite. On the way up, Darlin had a few unanswered questions for the Tin Man. "If you've been here for well over 100 years, how is it that the Wicked Witch of the South only looks about 80 years old?" asked Darlin. "Well," began the Tin Man, but there were too many people around, so the two were quiet in deep thought the whole way back to the room. Once back in the room, Darlin asked, "Well, you never answered the question. How does the Wicked Witch of the South not look like she's 150 years old?" The Tin Man responded, "She has a spell that involves crushing crumbs from yellow bricks. She gives it to the Munchkins and your mother as well." Darlin, completely in awe. "I can't believe this is really happening. Do you know how unbelievable this is? Right then the intercom beeped, causing Darlin not to finish her sentence. The two ran over to the intercom and Darlin pressed the button. "Darlin?" "Yes, it's us," replied Darlin. "You have to be quick. I trust you know the tunnel system. She will be entering the steam any minute now. Be very quiet, and you'll find the ruby slippers at the foot of her bed. You have to be very quick, for she will only be in the shower for 20 minutes. Once you get the slippers, put them on immediately, as for no one can force you to take them off. I will get the wand, and we'll meet in the yellow brick room." "Okay, we're leaving now. Just make sure you get the wand, or we did this all for nothing," Darlin said frantically. "Here we go again," the Tin Man said. They both walked away from the intercom towards the secret passage. Darlin grabbed the flashlight and opened the secret entrance. "Don't forget your axe and oil can. I have a feeling we might need them." Darlin felt her pocket with her hand to make sure she had her supplies. The two of them started to run up the passage with Disco closely behind. When they got to the fork in the path, Darlin turned off the flashlight, and the three of them slowly made their way down the middle passage towards the witch's quarters. Fear was brewing in Darlin's stomach. She was no hero. She had never done anything for anyone, let alone risk her life. The three huddled behind the two-way mirror. Darlin whispered, "I can't hear anything. What are we going to do?" The Tin Man lay down on his stomach. "I see the ruby slippers. She must be in the shower." Darlin reached over and pulled the lever to raise the secret entranceway. When the mirror slid up, she could hear the shower running in the next room. Darlin ran into the bedroom, dove beside the bed where the ruby slippers were, and reached out to grab them. When she rose up, she could see Thurston standing on the other side of the bed. As he threw her the wand, he said, "I'll stall her as long as I can. Go!" Suddenly, Darlin felt a shadow being cast over her. She turned around and looked up to see the Wicked Witch of the South standing over in her black robe. I should have done my way with you years ago," the witch shrieked as she dove for the slippers in Darlin's arms. But before she could get her, Thurston had jumped onto the bed and dove off, pushing the Wicked Witch back into her bathroom. The Tin Man came out of the secret passageway to help Darlin up. With Disco barking frantically, the Tin Man and Darlin ran into the passage. The Tin Man, now with the flashlight in hand, led the way as they ran for the split in the tunnel. Thurston, being rather quick for a 300-year-old munchkin, was able to get into the passage and close the mirror before the witch was even able to get up. An alarm filled the castle within seconds. Code yellow, repeating itself over and over. They ran down the passage towards the yellow brick room as fast as they could.
Code yellow for like the bricks, you know?
Oh, yeah. Before she could get the door open, she could hear the sound of the passageway being filled with people running towards her. As the entrance began to open, Darlin could see Thurston running toward them. They waited for him to arrive before entering. With one last look down the passage, Darlin's worst fears were confirmed. Throughout the sea of munchkins was the Wicked Witch of the South, complete with hat and cape, carrying a broom. "Don't you go in there. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too," the Wicked Witch shrieked. Darlin jumped in the room and began to take off her shoes and put on the ruby slippers. "How do we close the passage?" the Tin Man asked Thurston. Thurston ran over to the bookcase and pulled the Wizard of Oz book, closing the two-way mirror. The witch's hands reached under to grab him as the door was closing. "Quick, give me your axe," he said to the Tin Man. Thurston took the axe, swung it down between the mirror and the yellow bricks. "That won't hold her for long. You need to do whatever you're going to do. Hurry," added Thurston. "Tin Man, you're back. Help Thurston with the door," Darlin yelled. as she pointed towards the Tin Man.
Now a Tin Man again inside the room.
He's now a Tin Man in there. Okay. He looked at his hand and he could see the metal that had always covered his body. I think these slippers are too big for me, Thurston, Darlin said. Just put them on. Hurry, Thurston yelled. The moment Darlin got both shoes on, they began to shrink down to her size. The shoes looked noticeably smaller once they adjusted to Darlin's feet. With the Tin Man helping, Thurston held the door and he began to tear up as he took his first look at Darlin with the ruby slippers. You look just like your grandma with those on, Darlin replied. Don't cry, your eyes will rust. She ran over to the china cabinet to grab the ingredients she put aside for the spell.
I don't know why.
Darlin yelled out, Tin Man, take the cover off the crystal ball. He ran over to the other side of the room. Darlin's heart was pumping with fear. She could hear the witch screaming on the other side of the door. When Darlin made her way over to the podium, she pulled out the cyclone riding spell from her sash. Suddenly, the two-way mirror that was keeping the witch out shattered, shooting shards of glass all over the room. When Darlin looked up, she could see the room being filled with angry little men. The witch was standing in the passage, just standing and staring directly into Darlin's eyes. That was it. They had failed. Each of them were surrounded. All three of the would-be bandits were being held now, and there was no place to go. Darlin didn't notice before, but now looking around the room, she could see that Thurston and all the Munchkins changed back into their magical forms. They had brighter color, and their features almost appeared to be painted on. Give me back those slippers. You can't beat me. I'm the Wicked Witch of the South. I will crush you. Darlin could hear the Tin Man and Thurston begin to tell the other Munchkins what was going on. But there seemed to be no response. Their fear for the witch made them hold fast. Fine, I'll take them myself, the witch said violently as she crossed the threshold into the yellow brick room. Almost in slow motion, Darlin could see her face turn from flesh color to a hideous green as she entered the room. The witch looked over at Thurston and said, I guess it's true what they say about politicians. They can't be trusted. With the room quiet now, Thurston began to speak loudly to his fellow Munchkins. My friends, you don't need to do this. Darlin has the ruby slippers, the wand, and the spell to get us back to Oz. This is the day we've all been waiting for. Please. With no response, the witch offered her 2 cents. They can't help you. I will destroy each and every one of these miserable little freaks. She walked over to Darlin, grabbed her by the chin, and lifted it up so Darlin was looking directly into her eyes. Darlin got shivers down her neck. The witch's skin was unholy cold temperature, something Darlin did not expect. If she won't give me the slippers, we'll simply torture her friends until she does. Her little dog, too, glaring deeper into Darlin's eyes. Take them away, the witch grunted, throwing Darlin's head back. Without hesitation, the little people began to work the 4 fugitives out of the room. When they cleared the corner of the room, where the Tin Man and Thurston were held, you could see Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, in the crystal ball. She began to sing, rise up, wherever you are. The Munchkins cheered out. The whole place went crazy. Wait! That was the Good Witch singing that. It wouldn't have sounded like that. Oh, oopsie. The 2 Munchkins that were not holding Darlin immediately went for the witch's broomstick. Darlin was pushed face to face with the Wicked Witch as all the Munchkins charged towards her, causing them to fall to the floor. Now confined by many Munchkins, the witch whispered to Darlin, I will get you for this, my pretty. I will get you. Her cold, bad breath was something you couldn't quite understand from watching in a movie. To understand what I'm talking about, one would have to smell its foul stench and feel its deathly chill. Oh, I don't think so. You're going to be the one who's going to pay for what you've done. Darlin was then helped off the witch, who was left being held down to the floor. There were so many Munchkins on her that I doubt if she tried she could even move one finger. They were not going to take any chances, knowing full well of what she could do if she got a hold of her wand, broom, or any other number of things you could find lying around in a witch's lair. Darlin turned the crystal ball and said, Thank you for saving us, Miss North. The Munchkins all chuckled. I mean, Glenda, Darlin continued humbly. No, it is I who need to thank you, replied Glenda from within the smoke of the crystal ball. I agree with you, Tin Man. She does look like Dorothy in those slippers. Now let's bring you all home, shall we? Everyone began to cheer. This had been a real dream of all these enslaved munchkins for a very long time. Their faces ranged from happiness to sobbing smiles of joy. The munchkins who were sitting in the hallway still looked like regular little people, but to them were somehow changed by their joy alone. Looking around the room, all Darlin could see was this inspiring sea of smiles who believed in her. The Tin Man started to tear up again. Thurston looked like a proud mayor standing in tall...
Every time you say that, I almost tear up. It's weird.
That is weird.
There's no reason why.
Maybe because you wrote it. I
don't know. I don't know. When you mentioned the Tin Man about to cry, I just well up for some reason. Okay, go on. Sorry. Sorry for the interruption, people.
Thurston looked like a proud mayor, standing tall in the sea of smiling munchkins. In the middle of it all was the witch's green face. It looked like a real Where's Waldo situation. Darlin couldn't resist. She reached into her sash and pulled out her celly and took a picture. A rack of brooms had fallen over the witch, and to top it all off, she had a broomstick poking into her eye. Such a Kodak moment. I believe I have everything I need for the spell. What do you want me to do, Glenda? Darlin asked. Just follow the steps. I suspect it will come naturally to you, said Glinda, sorry. Darlin straightened out the bottles in the same order as they appeared in the spell on the podium, sporting the vanity spell that she was so close to falling under. Darlin took some soil out of the first bottle labeled Soil of Oz and cast its contents up in the air. Its particles, as if in slow motion, spread out above the cauldron, and Darlin pointed the wand at the dust suspending in midair. With her free hand, Darlin lifted the other bottle up to her mouth, and with her teeth, she removed the lid. Darlin then blew the bottled wind toward the suspended soil. As Darlin blew, she started to spin her wand in tiny circles, and she started spinning faster. A miniature twister formed. Okay.
Here we go.